the design of the system here was really designed not just to be a research tool, but also to kind of guide you through your day-to-day tasks and how you're working through your, again, trade flow or workflow in your day-to-day trading. So let me share with you a couple of design elements in this, and then we'll go through that. And as we get started here, though, I want you to know there's a great deal of resources available to you within the platform to help you be able to use it more effectively and become more familiar with it. So let me just start by sharing two of those with you. One, when you first come into the platform, there is a tutorial, or actually kind of a tour, that's available to you. And if we click on the Start Tour, what will happen is this will be automatic when you come in for the first time, and it'll take you through about a 10 to 15 minute guided tour. Takes you to the different pages, shows you different elements on the page, highlights different parts for you. You can also, though, jump directly to a particular area that you would like to. If you always want to go and learn more about charting, you can go straight into that as well. So that's available to you. I know that some of you, when you come in, you click not now, I don't want to get that, I just want to jump into the product and take a look, which is fine. That's not a problem, but it is definitely worth doing that. If you've clicked the checkbox that says don't show me again, or show this on launch, if you've unchecked that, the tour is always available to you right in the user menu. So Start Tour, the first item right there. So that's a way to get yourself kind of familiarized with all the different elements here. One other piece I want to make mention of is the Help Center. The Help Center is available by clicking that info icon right up by your username, by the user menu. And this will bring up our Help Center. Just a quick thing about the Help Center, it is broken down into three specific areas. One is the quick guides, two is the actual main help content, and then three is the videos. In the quick guides, you will see the screenshots of the different parts on the system, and you'll see these little orange arrows. Well, these orange arrows, when you hover on any of the arrows, it will then show you, what that's about or what that's for. So again, if I go over to the tile view versus the list view, or about the different elements. So you can click on that to take a look at that. So then in the main part of it, you'll have information about, again, you can see navigation, score, so on. So you can go through this. Each of these sections do have a video associated with it, and the videos are anywhere from 4 minutes, maybe at the high end 15 minutes, that talk about that specific. For example, here we have the score, and this is a little 12-minute video on specifically how to use the score. The final piece I want to make mention of is the video tab. The very last tab is the video tab. This has in one view all of those short topic videos available to you. And then there's also two long form videos. One is the platform demo and one is TradeFlow that we're going through here this evening. And those are available to you too as well, to be able to view and go through. So I just want to make mention of that Help Center as a great resource, again, available by clicking the Help Center info icon right by the username. Right. So with that, let's kick into the main content here tonight. So at the top level, there are 5 kind of menu items: market, watch, find, research, and portfolio. And the idea in this design is that market is designed to give you the big picture, what's happening, what you want to check out, and things that are going on in the broader markets. The next area is watch list. That's your watch or watch list, which is your detailed watch list capability. So the idea, again, what's happening in the market, check out the stocks that you've already got on your list that you're paying attention to. The next area then would be finding new opportunities in the marketplace. That's the Find tab. And then researching either stocks that you currently have or new find opportunities. And then from there, managing your portfolio. And that's exactly how we're going to flow through this evening, is through those 5 steps. So the first step of this is market. If we look at market, what you see here on the market page are really kind of 4 primary sections. One is broad market indices, what's happening there, what's been happening with those over some time, and I'll explain what you're looking at here in a moment. A quick view of your watch lists, the then you have your actives. This is the 52-week high, 52-week low, gainers, losers, most active stocks for the different exchanges available to you there. So this is also a little bit of how to find some opportunity, or at least find what's moving quickly right now in the market, or what's of interest in the market. And then the other area is our heat map, or our spectrum view of that heat map available to us here. And so let's talk about what we're seeing on this page. First thing I want to share with you is over here on the left-hand side, you'll see the major market indices. So as you saw today, we started down a bit, came back up, now we're down just slightly on the day. So down 17 points on the day on the Dow. So this shows you the Dow, the Nasdaq, and the S&P, but also the VIX. And this is a real important piece, because what the VIX is an indication of kind of the fear factor in the market. And we want to see that, in a better market or bullish time, that would be fairly low. And as you get into those fearful times, it tends to go up. So the VIX, or the volatility index of the options on the S&P 500. So this is how volatile the S&P 500 stocks are, or options on those stocks are. So you can look at these in different timelines. So if I want to look, for example, at a 1-month view of the VIX, some interesting thing. In fact, actually, let's look at two of these. First of all, the VIX. What we see here in the last couple weeks is we actually see the VIX kind of on a downward trend, where prior to that was on an upward trend. In fact, if I go to a 3-month view for just a minute, let me go to a 3-month view for a second. You can see here that we had pretty much a little bit of volatility in here, and then right at the end of the year, just volatility started continuing to go up until literally almost the end of the month, the end of January. Well, actually, I'm sorry, it's about a week ago. And now we've seen it starting to trend down. Well, so I just wanted you to see the longer term view. I'm going to come back to the 1-month view, because I want to compare what's below here as well. So if we look at that same thing on the Dow, when you see that coming down, when you see the VIX coming down, you also see the Dow kind of coming up. So you saw here a significant bleed off in the market. Now it's coming back up a little bit. So what kind of a market are we in? Well, what we seem to be in is a little bit of a bottoming of the market. And there's been a lot of days coming into this last week or so where we saw major down days, and you'd see a couple up days. You'd say, oh, maybe they're turning around, and bam, you'd see more of a down day. But it was still an overall downward trend. We seem to see a bottoming process happening, and a little bit of upward movement now coming out. Now that the stock, the market's down at 16 and a half. So the fact that it's starting to show a little bit of a bottom there. But do I know that? How do I know that? How do I feel confident that's the case? Well, if I look at the next section here, this is my advanced decliners and my 52-week high and 52-week low. And before I go into that, I just want to mention one thing about why we're looking at this. One of the things that we find in trading is it's best to go with the flow. Right? In other words, if the whole market is going down and you're trying to find out one stock going upstream, that can be very challenging. You want to go with the flow. If everything's coming down, maybe that's what you want to do. If it's a stagnant market, well, there's things you can do to play stagnant positions in the market. If it's going up but really slow, there's things you might want to do there. So what this does, it gives you kind of that macro or broader picture view of what's going on in the market. So what we're seeing here now is advanced decline and 52-week high and 52-week low. So in the advanced decline, you see here a light green and light red, dark green, dark red. What these indicate, the light color is the total number. So for example, today we saw 1,500 advancers, we saw 1,600 decliners. So decliners were just slightly above advancers on the day. But if you look at what was happening through the most of the month of January, you saw that overwhelmingly that you saw a couple days, but overwhelmingly you saw down days more than, or a lot more decliners than there were advancers. So what you would want to look for in those situations is more of, again, going with that flow. Be careful putting on bullish positions during that window of time, where now you see things looking quite a bit better since around the 21st of January, and things are starting to show up more bullish. Again, you're going to have mixed days here, but again, more on the advancer side than decline side. And you can tell that very quickly by just looking at the darker color, the dark green versus the dark red. We also are showing 52-week high and 52-week low. Now, this part I think is particularly interesting because you can have days where you have, in fact, if you look up here around January 22nd, you see that the advancers were quite a bit, 2,800 advancers versus 350 decline. So you saw an overwhelming advance day. But if you look down here on that same day, there were actually only 4 52-week highs, 97 52-week lows. So even though you had more stocks going up and down, they certainly weren't going to the point where they were starting to hit new highs. And why is that important? Well, again, if you're going with the flow, if stocks have had a major retracement and they're starting to come back up and they're hitting new 52-week highs, they're getting close to those 52-week highs for the first time in quite a while, there tends to be resistance at that level. You know, it's kind of like, hey, if I bought a stock a while back and it went down, I'm like, now I've turned, you know, what's the quickest way to turn a short-term trader into a long-term investor? A stock going in the wrong direction. Now, the reality is that's not what you should do. If it's going in the right direction, you should cut your losses and get out. But a lot of people end up holding on. So as it starts to get back up and they've made most of their money back now, they're going, okay, fine, I'm almost break even or I'm at break even. Let me get out of here and find something else because the stock wasn't a good one for them. So there does seem to be some resistance when it's been away from new 52-week highs. Now what you're seeing here is you're coming into this last part of January and into February, you're starting to see now 52-week highs beating 52-week lows a little bit. It's certainly not, not going gangbusters here, but what we're seeing here is this is an indication. This difference here is an indication of a bottoming process in the market. So in today's market, then I'm looking for things that might be bottoming, might be starting to around, or that maybe have been a little bit bullish, but I've been reticent to get into because of the overall flow of the market that now I might consider. So this is the best way to describe this left panel is your macro view of what's going on so that I can know what the flow is so that I could trade with the flow, right? So then from there, I'm going to jump over to the right-hand side here to my heat map. And in my heat map, what this is showing me is more detail about what is flowing in what way. And I want to go into more detail on this in Find, but I just want to mention here a couple of quick points, and that is that you can see, again, a little bit of an overall view of what's happening in the market. And as I get into this is a good point to mention to you. One thing that is available to you today is that if there are any questions at all that you have during this, in your control panel for the webinar, you'll see a place there for questions. And we have here tonight joining me Tim Lin, who has been instrumental in a lot of the development of this platform as well. And so by all means, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask him. He'll be there to answer one-on-one. If there's certain things that he thinks I need to mention up here, he'll let me know as well. So that's available to you. So as I go through some of this, if there's a piece that you didn't quite get or understand or want to know how to get to or something, by all means, please feel free to use the questions and the question section there, and Tim will be more than happy to answer those as we're going through our content here this evening. So back here on the map, what I'm looking at here is, what you see here is, this is the S&P 500. By the way, there's quite a few different ones, including the NASDAQ one, Russell 2000. I can look at even all optionable stocks. For right now, I'm just going to stay with the S&P 500. And what this is showing me is the percent change on the day. And I can even change this. In fact, just for a moment here, let's stay on day for a second, and then I'm going to look at week. But on the day, you can see here that today we've had some areas that have been doing well and some areas that haven't. And so what happens, you see a bottoming process in the markets. Well, that doesn't mean that everything's doing well. It means that there are some things doing well. So let's take a look at this. What I see here is under the sector, consumer defensive, I see here that we have defensive retail stocks that have done pretty well today. Under technology, online media has done well. Some other stuff is kind of flat to down a little bit. Healthcare, we see some areas here: medical devices, biotech, healthcare providers, healthcare plans up a little bit. So that's happening. Drug manufacturers down a little bit on the day, but you can see now. You see consumer cyclicals. There's some stuff going on here, and then energy though not so great. Industrials not so great. In fact, I'd say industrials, financials, technology, and energy especially. I would not be looking at bullish positions in those. I would be looking at more either. Well, if I see a market turning, I might want to look for where I can do things in a more bullish way if I feel the market is starting to turn back up. Now, by the way, I'm not saying that we're going to be in a bullish market for a long period of time. I don't know. That's why I have the tool here to give me kind of guidance in what that's looking like. So that's the day view. But let's take a look at the week view. So I have different periodicities I can look at. Let's go to a week view here. And in this, you can see now that in the last week, things have actually been doing pretty well. Overall, things have been, so again, technology is kind of a lagger. Healthcare, interestingly enough, even though it looked good today, has been a lagger over the last week. But we see some other areas here doing pretty darn well. So again, if you're looking for opportunities, and I'm going to go back to today so that we can, whoops, kind of jump there on me. I'm going to go back to today so we can kind of have that micro view, that kind of drill down on that. So if I look at this, I'm looking for, in essence, the best of the best of the best, right? I'm looking for the best stock, the best sector, the best industry group, and the best stocks within that. So if I look at this, the piece that stands out to me is under consumer defensive. I have here retail defensive that's up almost 2.5% today. So I'm going to click on that on consumer defensive, and what will happen is it'll now zoom in to consumer defensive, and now I can see the stocks that make that up. And here you see Walmart and Kroger's and Cisco, Costco kind of flat, Target, and all these up. So all these up a little bit. Costco pretty much flat, but from here then you have Cisco, Kroger's. And again, retail defensive. What is retail defensive? Retail defensive are stocks that will have a tendency to be that flight to safety, places where people have to shop even when the market's not doing well. So, Louis Vuitton is not a consumer defensive stock. It would be more in the lines of your essentials type places, grocery stores, Target, Walmart, those kind of things. And we see these here. And by the way, now that I've drilled down to this level, I can also click on any one of these, and now it'll bring up just double click. There we go. Just do a quick click on it, and it'll bring up a detailed quote for one of those stocks for you. It shows you see the intraday. If I want to go look at a longer term viewpoint, I can do that, and you see again this bottoming process here. In fact, for those of you familiar with it a little bit, kind of a cup and handle pattern, only the handle over here. So that's available to you. And by the way, from there, I also can trade right away. Right, I have buy sell, open up a trade ticket right away by clicking a buy sell button. And my score is also available. So that's a little bit on the heat map view. I'm going to save the spectrum view for a deeper conversation when we get to find, because there's a little bit more detail that I can get there. And by the way, if you click on the little go big button here, it'll take you over to that detailed view that's in part of find. But we're going to do that in just a moment. So then the other thing I have available to me, again, I'm looking at my broad view. I first come in, what's happening in the markets, what kind of areas do I want to look at for my opportunities, what do I want to do here? And I will say on the heat map, one thing I would share with you on this is that it usually is better to look at maybe the 1 day, 1 week, and make sure that, because you can have swings on the day where, like you saw, in fact, if these days back in January, where you saw some up days in the market after major bleed off days, so you'd see a green heat map on the day, but if you looked at it for the week, it was still very weak. And by looking at a couple different periodicities, you can make sure that there is some consistency in that direction. So a couple other quick points on the watch page, so you're getting this big picture. If you want to check out some, new 52-week highs and, biggest gainers on the day in that's available to you here. We have that. I personally don't necessarily go after those, other than if I do see stocks in the news and I also see them on here. Sometimes I'll go into that a little bit, but I tend to use the scoring method as more of my flow, right? Which brings a little bit to the actual watch list part. Now, the watch list, you can have as many watch lists as you want. In fact, we're going to talk about building watch lists today through some of what we do, and you can have those watch lists and quickly go through and look at the different ones. But there are two dynamic watch lists. There is portfolio and virtual portfolio. And I'm going to use virtual portfolio to demonstrate this today. By clicking on virtual portfolio, what this does is it goes out and gets for all of my virtual accounts, because I have multiple virtual accounts in here. In fact, you'll see on my broker menu down in the bottom left-hand corner here that every one of these with an orange tag next to it is one of my virtual accounts. And so with these virtual accounts, it aggregates together all of the stocks that I have in any of those accounts, either open positions or current open trades that have not yet filled. So it looks at both those and assembles this list for you. That also works the exact same way on your actual portfolio. The one thing about this, because it does require you to log in to your actual portfolios, what will happen is it will aggregate all of them that are logged in. So you can log in, if you're not familiar with this, you can log into as many of the portfolios as, as many of your brokerage accounts as you would like. And so I could have accounts at TD Ameritrade and at Choice Trade and very soon E-Trade, and be able to see all of those, anything I have in an open position or in a current open trade would all show up here. And that way you can take a kind of aggregated quick look at what's going on and see what's happening with your positions. Now, in our last session, we talked about the score. I think it's such an important part of this. I'm going to briefly mention it here, and then as we go into some of the stuff, you'll see it in use a little bit. But the score is designed also in the order of a trade flow. Your first order of the score is your technical analysis, thus the little chart. The next one is inner circle. Inner circle is made up of institutions and insiders, and what they're doing with the stock right now. The valuation, which is whether the stock is over or undervalued based on its current stock price and its current fundamentals and projection on that. And then the last one is that of fundamentals. So again, our speed of reaction to the stock is going to be from the fastest technicals to the slowest, which is only reported once a quarter, your fundamentals. So the benefit of this is that I can look at this based on my timeline too. If I'm doing short-term trades, if I'm in a trade for a few days, couple weeks maybe, I'm going to care a lot more about the first two than I am the last two. Right? Although I will tell you that if a stock has a green valuation, and now the stock has been starting to go up, and fundamentals haven't changed, it's just the stock price is going up, there's going to reach a point where it's going to go from green to yellow because now in fair valuation, and then from yellow to red because now it's overvalued because now the stock keeps going up and the fundamentals haven't changed. So just be aware of that. Sometimes if you're in something that you're doing short term and it starts to get up to that overvalued point, that could put selling pressure on it, which may not yet show up in the chart, but it is showing up back here in this valuation because it is getting richer and richer in value compared to its fundamentals. So it's something to just really consider there is that even though you'll be focused on maybe the first one or two, that's still something you want to maybe pay attention to, not so much because of your long-term outlook and that you're not expecting this thing to go, hold it for the next, year or whatever, but that as it starts to get overvalued, that's going to bring in some selling pressure. So just something to be aware of that. But again, my technical analysis being my shortest term, and then the inner circle for that next one. And inner circle, why is that? Whenever I talk about short term, I always talk about technicals and inner circle. And the reason for that is that the institutions are really driving stocks more than the individual market. or the retail market. And because of that, you really do want to pay attention to what's going on with those institutions and whether they're buying or selling and whether the insiders are buying or selling, right? So you want to keep an eye on that in those positions. So here's my quick overview of everything I have in my portfolio, and I can see if I have a tendency not to trade in the red. Now these are my demo ones, so it's kind of all over the place in my virtuals. And if it's something that I tend not to trade in the red for my bullish positions, I have if I see a red showing up in here, I'm going to go start to pay attention to it. Or if I know that, for example, if I feel I'm in a bullish market, now I've also got a lot of bearish trades on, or had some bearish trades on from before. But now that we're seeing this, if I see that I'm trading primarily, green technicals or yellow and green technicals, and something turns red, I'm going to want to take action on it. So it gives me that quick view, right? So now I've shared that, we're then going to go to my more detailed watch list view. So I've got that macro view, and then from here is where I'm going to really come into my individual stocks based on what I really want to look at. Now, when I was on my watch list view, I was in the list view of this, which is one of the ways primarily when people come in, that's what they're used to. So that's what we have up as a default. But there is another way to look at this as well, and that is that tile view. And you can toggle between the list view and the tile view with, if you see my cursor over here on the top right-hand side, that gives you the opportunity to flip between the two. I'm actually going to stay in my tile view for just one moment, because it does give you the opportunity to see a lot of stocks at one time and what's happening, especially with technicals and technical analysis on this. So we have here my intraday. Very simple to tell whether it's up or down in the day based on the color. For the 1 month view, we use our candlesticks because it does give you a lot more information on what's going on. And you can just see a pattern here. Right? If you just take a quick look at this, you see this bottoming process like SPY, which is the S&P 500. You have 3M down here that's been going up nicely, and then we have some like Lockheed Martin LMT that's been kind of flattening out, but hasn't really been going up. Same thing with, let's see, Baxter's going up, and so you get kind of again that broader picture view of what's happening on the stocks that you're taking a look at. But we also do have then the list view, and in the list view, it does give you a lot more information on on the stocks, where again you have your score available to you, the 52-week, the high and low of the day, the open price on the day. It also shows you here. Slide down a little bit. I'm going to change my screen size for just a second so I can have this kind of blown up for you a little bit. I just want to bring it down a little. But I also have on this some additional information. I have my 52-week high and low, so I can see where it's at and kind of in that range. If it pays a dividend, I have the dividend yield, the dollar amount that's paid out on the dividend, the next ex-div date, and then I also have my PE, my PE, my market cap, shares outstanding, and my beta. So I have a lot of information here that I can look at within my watch list to give me more kind of color on what's going on. Right? So for the stocks that I'm wanting to take a look at. Right? So from that, so again, I'm looking at broad market. I'm looking at my stocks that I maybe have some setups on, some things I'm taking a look at there, and then I want to talk about finding opportunities. And finding opportunities, I want to cover this in the two areas of scan and explore, but I also want to share with you one other piece. And actually, I'll share that one first. This is my development system. This is a piece that we are working on. It will be released very soon. I don't have an exact date, but it will be within probably, my guess is within 2 weeks. We have one big project we're trying to get wrapped up in it. If we find that we're going to be a little slow on that, we'll probably go ahead and release it a little bit earlier. But this is your calendar view, and right now we have both an earnings calendar view and a dividends calendar view. And so you see here, I have my earnings calendar view selected. So today we had 60. So you can see the little number up here at the top of the calendar. And today we had 67 stocks that came out with earnings, and it's the list that you see here. And by the way, you'll see here that these, in most of the cases, already have their actual earnings posted. So you see here what we have on the display here is both the estimate and the actual. And if I go to tomorrow, for example, you'll see that we have 124 tomorrow, and actually one I guess is already reported AMG, but then that's why you see the EPS not filled in here. So 124 on the list for tomorrow, and you can again take a look at it, see what's coming up, and potentially take advantage of some of those moves. Now, I say tomorrow, you might want to look at playing something a few weeks out. So if you look at Thursday's 225. Next week, we have, by the way, you'll notice that the color here is how many's coming out on a particular day. The darker the color, well, black means selected. The darker the color, the higher the number. So, for example, on the 25th, there's 314 coming out on that one day. By the way, that's for all equities. If you want to just look at the S&P 500, you can click on the drop-down up here, and I can just look at S&P 500 and what's coming out on that. And with that one, I see 29 coming out on my two biggest days are 20 on the 25th, 29 on the 4th. And if you hear about earnings season and how many stocks are coming out in the next little bit or whatever, this is a great way to be able to see this. In fact, I'm going to go back a month here, go back to January, and you'll see the numbers on this. We had some days where it was up to like 49 on a particular day and all that. But now we're getting into February, you're starting to see that coming into play. But you can go back to any day you want. So I'm going to go back in time here, and let's go back to October, because that's where you're going to see some fairly large numbers coming out. So that would be the latter part of October are when the majority of the S&P 500 stocks are reporting for the July, August, September period. And you can click on any one of these dates and go back and see, what it was on those dates. And again, you'll see estimate and actual. So anyway, that's there. The other one that's there is dividends. Same thing here with dividends. It'll show you how many stocks on any given day. Let's go back to today's date. And we'll show you how many stocks on any given day are coming out with dividends. And you're able to do that through any of these features. In fact, I know a lot of you are training on using options. So we actually also have just optionable stocks available to you as well in that too. So that gives you a little bit of something coming up there. But let's talk about the explore part of this, which is, and I need to pick up pace to make our timeline tonight too. I want to make sure you get a lot of value, but I want to cover a lot of material too. So this is the spectrum view. Now we looked at the heat map, and I'll just show you that real quick. Here's the heat map. This is the exact same thing you were looking at on the front page, only because we have a lot more real estate, now we're able to show it to you with the stocks here as well. So if we saw that financial services were not doing so well, online media wasn't doing so well, but we saw consumer defensive doing pretty good. We also saw energy not doing so well, and you can tell that over here under the energy section. Now you can drill down into any of these. So if I look at consumer defensive, I can go click on the top level of that, and it'll drill down to those. And then within that, we went and looked at retail defensive. So I have that I could drill down into. But I also can just click on any single stock, since I can see it now at this view and be able to get that same information that we saw before. Right? So, but let's talk about Spectrum, because Spectrum can really offer some insight to what's going on in the market. So if you look at this, you can look at it in different time frames. So I have the S&P 500 on percent change. By the way, there's a lot of different data points. You can look at high and low PE, PEG. I can look at stocks implied volatility, changes in implied volatility, days to next earnings report. A lot of ways you can look at this information. I'm going to stay on percent change right now. And what you're seeing here is each of these columns represents whatever the period of time that you've selected is. So, and I'm actually going to go to the 1 week for a moment, because what you'll see here is that we saw in January, we saw all this red, right? So that right toward the end of the year, we had a little bit of a kind of coming into the year, we had a neutral day to a little bit up toward the very end of the year. But then we came into the first of the year and we saw a lot of down days. What this represents, by the way, is the percentage change. So you saw in the week of the 8th of January, you actually saw a 10% drop in basic material stocks that make up the 26 stocks that make up basic materials in the S&P 500. Right, so you see this was pretty ugly during the first couple weeks, and then now you're seeing some shift in this, but not all over the place. You're not seeing it in healthcare. You're not seeing it in real estate. There's also some other ones here. Consumer cyclical and communications are up, but they're not as up as much as some of the others. And so again, this gives you an opportunity to see this. Now, let me share with you two elements of this on the use of the spectrum view. In the case of a broad market move, you can kind of keep an eye on you can keep an eye on what the overall flow is. So you see these, down weeks in the market, these weeks where things were falling, and now you see them kind of shoring up. You see some areas doing better than other areas, and so you might want to focus on those areas as you're doing that. But if you look at it in a normal market condition, where you don't have these swings driven by major market moves, then what you see is sector rotation. You'll see certain sectors going green and certain sectors going red, or reddish, right? As there's money moving from one sector group to another. You also, on this has 500 stocks viewable in this single place. So if I look here at consumer defensive, I can open this up and see the different industry groups. So it's the sector, consumer defensive. Then I can see the different industry groups here. And if I look at, for example, we were in retail defensive was looking pretty good. That's actually up the most this past week. So let's take a look at that. And I open it up, and here are the stocks that make that up. And you can again see what they're doing and how they've performed over time. And then you can actually look at, there's a lot of data points over here, including, again, what the yield is. And this, by the way, at the roll-up level, this is showing you what the overall yield is. So now you can see the outliers, the ones that are doing better. Or the PE or PEG, you're seeing that the consumer defensive PE, forward PE is 17. But there's a few stocks in here that are high. By the way, PE, you want low PE is good. Price over earnings. So you want the price to be low compared to its earnings in general. So if you look at this, I got Costco at 26. I got the LTR at 27. But then I have some other ones in here that are much more in line. Target at 14. Cisco at 19. So on. So I could look at going into doing something with it. So it's a way to drill down and get you that more detailed information, and it's a great way to kind of see the flow of what's happening, especially when the most valuable piece of this, honestly, in my opinion, personally, well, there's two parts, because it really is helpful to see, hey, we are seeing some better markets here in these slices of time over each of these weeks. But in the case of not broad market moves, where things are just a normal flow, it's really helpful to see how the sectors are rotating and things are moving around, and then just follow the guys of what's happening there. Right? So that's a little bit on the spectrum view. Now I want to go into the scans specifically. So I'm looking for opportunities in the markets. Now we have a lot of different scans in the system. Now what you're going to see on my screen as I bring up a few things here is going to be a little bit different than what's on your screen. In fact, a couple of my screens are a little messy here because this is my dev system, our development system. Yours will be either organized by under the strategies, for example, or either be organized by your classes or by the strategies themselves, depending on how you've come into the platform. So, but what I can do is I can look at all sorts of different ideas throughout this. I've got a ton of different ways to find opportunities. Like, let's say that we're seeing good growth stocks or certain types of technical patterns that we're looking for, or things like that. But what I want to focus on here is, well, by the way, we also have outlook, so I can find bullish stocks, bearish stocks, stagnant stocks. We also are going to have volatile in here as well. So you can look for those opportunities. But I want to focus a little bit more on the strategy part today, because in the strategy part, it actually, and I'm going to do this under my favorites because I've saved the ones I really want to highlight here. There's a couple of these specifically I want to talk about. One is the covered call, and one is a bull put. So I want to talk both about a stock and an option, covered call position, and then just a pure option position. So you'll notice here on my covered call, this is actually a trade finder. Most of the trade finders have a little, in fact, in yours, it'll have a little rocket up in here. In fact, they'll have it for the covered call too. I just don't have it in my dev system. So it'll be a little rocket indicating that it's a trade finder scan. So in this, though, today, I have 2 results in my covered call scan. Now, in a really good market, you might see quite a few more, but in my covered call conservative optimized, it's rare that you see at the high end maybe a dozen stocks in a really good market time, but this is being really conservative in how it's finding these positions. And what we do here, and I'll show you a couple of these really quick. By the way, one of the things we have done everywhere but Spectrum, and it's coming there, but everywhere but Spectrum, when you hover over a symbol, it will tell you the stock name. So we have Wayfair and Cirrus Logic. So it happens to be that these are all green. It doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the case, but it can be the case. In this case, it is. So if you look at this, though, on Cirrus, it's telling me the exact position for this, which would be obviously the stock, and then with the stock at 30.47, we're selling the $35 call. With Wayfair, it's 43.47, selling the 45.50 position. And it shows you here what the percentage return would be if the stock does not go up, the percentage return, and my screen's blowing up for the thing here today, so you're seeing this a little bit cut off, but showing if no movement, we'll make 5% on Cirrus, and on Wayfair, it's actually 4.99, so right there as well. And if I get called out, it shows the percentage there if you get called out, and then it shows you also the dollar amount there. There is one here I want to make mention of, because we'll see this quite a few different places in the system. It's TVI, which is Time Value Index. What that is really is if I were able to do this exact trade based on whatever number of days this trade is, and I were able to repeat that as soon as it expires, do it again, and then do it again, and do it again, this would yield me an 84% return on the year. So the annualized return based on the number of days I'm in, carried out through the year, was an 84% return. I am not in any way saying that that's what you would get. The reason that's there, if I have different timelines, in fact, actually you see it here. I see one at 2/19, one at 3/04, right? So I got February 19th or March 4th. Well, I'm in the March 4th, more days. Well, if I look at my time value index, since I'm in it for more days for the return I get, I'm not getting my annualized on it's not quite, or my time value index not quite as great. So that's something that you can use to kind of judge a little bit on what you're looking to get into. So if I decide that I want to look at a particular one, I can click on the symbol and go to research. I can also click on analyze position and go straight to analyzing it. Or to analyzing the options position. I'm just going to click on the symbol and go over to this for a moment, because now what I see here, and we've talked about in our demo last week, and also in the detailed demo online, you see I see my score here. I see what makes up the score. I see these different areas. In fact, you can actually see on technicals, you see my momentum. If you remember the momentum, short-term to long-term, again, workflow design, short-term to long-term. I'm seeing the short to medium-term coming up. My longer-term still a little bit red. But if you wait till all this is green, then you've already seen a bit of move. So if I'm seeing the first couple, especially in turnaround opportunities, that's something I might want to look at. I look at my valuation, it's looking good. Fundamentals, inner circle, all looking good. So I might want to do some of this. So then I go over to my options position, and what it's going to do, it's going to bring up the position for you that was outlined in that with that strike. And if you notice this, it has here the position. It shows you the net debit of the trade, which would be 33.02, which is also your break even though the stock is currently at 34.87. Because of the option that you're selling, you're going to be in for 34.02, and it shows you the max reward is $2,000 on a this would be a 10-lot trade, and that your total cost of trade in this is, again, we're looking at 6% return here on a month. So $33,000 in the trade, $2,000 profit. You could go $3,300 in the trade, $200 profit if you did one lot, but it's about a 6% return on that position. Right. So if you're going through and you look at this, you see something you like here from that position, all you have to do is, and by the way, you'll notice here my price has been calculated out at 33.02, even though it's 32.97 to 33.07. So it's calculating what we feel that we can get filled at, and give you a little bit of an advantage in the trade. And to do the trade, and this is something, I know I've been going through a lot of stuff, but just, for those of you, I mean, quite a few of you have open the virtual account, but you haven't done your first trade yet. You go in and you look at some of these trade find scans. All you have to do is click the trade button. It's going to fill out the ticket for you exactly based on what the scan was. And I'm ready to place the trade. All I do is hit the review order button, see what see the position, make sure I'm doing what I want to do there, and from that, in fact, watch this, because I actually am getting ready to do this in the wrong account. Let me close that. Go back to my order ticket here, and I'm doing a covered call. I want to do that in my covered call account. So all I do is just click on the covered call account. Now I'm in that account, place the trade in my covered call account, and there we go. So, by the way, that's something, and this is just a message saying that you've got a short leg on, comes up on some of the Choice Trade Brokerage account. And so now you see my covered call trade right there ready to go. It says pending. First thing in the morning when the market opens, it'll say live and work to fill that trade. Okay. So that was the covered call one. Another one I want to share with you that is also a very interesting one is the bull put. Now the bull put is, again, if I'm playing a bearish market, I might want to look for that. In a bullish market, I'm going to look for the the bull put. Bearish market, I might look for bear put or bear call. So in this case, we'll look at this. I have 7 stocks in here, and what I'm looking for in a bull put, I want something that's trending up, mildly to moderately up, right? So here's my list of stocks. I see several of them listed out here, 7 of them. I can see my scores on these, and you can see those are looking kind of good. Here they got a little red here. I might want to look at that before I would do something on it. One of the great things about the tile view, so I have all this information, exact entry points and all that stuff. But if I want to look at, hey, well, rather than going through and looking at the chart on every single one of these one-on-one, I can get my tile view here and again see them in bulk. And now this is the intraday, but I want to look at more of my 1 month timeline, and I see here that let's take a quick look here. Yeah, all of these are looking. This one's a little more on the, I would kind of say, stagnant side, but stagnant to mildly bullish on all of these. If I want to see what it's relevant to the longer term, I got my 3-month view right here available to me as well. So what a quick way to be able to do some analysis on this. And then from here, I could go, okay, I want to see, let's see what we have here in TLT. So I can just click on this. And now notice something. I'm not even seeing what the options position is right now. But if I click on this, it'll take me over to do the analysis on the stock. And I can go over to, by the way, this is an ETF. The ETF does not have valuation or fundamentals because there's no earnings that come out, and there's no price over earnings, price over book, or price over sales, because they don't. So it's an ETF. It's a basket of stocks. That's why these are grayed out. But it does bring over the options position. So if I click on options now, you'll see. Oh, that was interesting. I have a little egg on my face. So let me just try this real quick. If I go back to this, I'm going to go to the list view. Let's list view. And in this case, let me try a different stock here for just a second and see how it works on that. And it comes up into this, bring it over to here. And there is my bull put. Yeah, I may have clicked something wrong there. And so you see here that it has structured the bull put spread. Now notice the way the bull puts are structured here is that the stock has to be above the 200-day moving average. I'm not going to get too much in the specific. It's in the scan detail information. But what we've done here in this particular case is we had a stock that kind of went up, hit a little bit of resistance, came down. Now it's tested this again. So we've structured this that now all the stock has to do is stay above where my break even is, above 57.01 with the stock already at $60.82. As long as it stays above 57.01, I make money in the trade. I'll make about 11% return in this trade, and all it has to do is not fall more than about 5%. So it goes up, continues on up. I'm going to make money. If it doesn't fall more than 5%, I'm going to make money in the trade as well. So again, if I see this, I like the trade. By the way, you can make some changes to this. Let's say that you're not as comfortable with this. You want a little bit more of a buffer to the downside. You can change the strikes manually, or we also have these buttons up here. And I touched on this in the demo, so I'll just do this quickly. I'm going to roll this whole trade down a little bit, right? And by doing that, I'm just going to click that button and move it down. And let's say that now I'm more comfortable with it here, where again, I think this is a little bit clearer resistance support position. I'm still making 11% return in the trade. I'm more comfortable with this trade. That's what I'm going to go with. By the way, what you are seeing here, before I push the trade button, what you are seeing here is and I know I covered this in the last session, but this is important. So let me make sure we follow this. What are these colors over here? What's going on over here? Well, this is just your bull put spread, but it's turned on its side, so it's the same axis as the chart. I can flip it. There's a little flip button here, so I flip it, rotate it, so I get my normal view. And all the stock has to do, again, the stock is right here. All it has to do is not fall below here, and I make money in the trade. So, so what we have here are what we call performance channels, and the light green means that you're at your max gain. So as it continues to go up from there, you're not going to make any more money. You've already hit the max. The light red is you're at max risk. You're not going to lose any more. As it continues to go down, you're at that max. And then the darker green and darker red, that's where your action is. Right? So if it's starting to come down here and it starts to get close to that action level, I might want to consider moving, doing something and getting out of the trade or adjusting or something like that. So I see the support resistance. I'm comfortable with where we're at. I decide I want to place this trade. It's simply click the trade button. It's going to take all that information, bring it over here, ready to execute the trade. I'm going to review it and place the trade. Now, one of the things that I just want you to recognize here is that as we do this, so now you see the LU bull put spread for the 48-cent credit in this position. Right, so the one thing I want you to really follow here, though, is that I never went in and had to go select the strat or select a position, an option, all that. All I did was take what the system was doing for a vertical trade, in this case the bull put, or in the covered call trade, or any of the other types of trades, come into this, and then I just tweak and adjust it. I just roll it up, roll it down. If I want to give more time, I could move it out or spread. I could spread this is to widen or narrow the spread. That's available to me to just kind of go right through that. All right. So that's the little bit of the going from the find over to the research and trade. Now, while we are on this, by the way, something I just want you to know on the design of this, we try to really think this through to make it easy for you to use. So what I have here is, I have all these different parts, so I can go look at the chart. Even though I see a chart on that page, I want to see a detailed chart view. I can do that. I can bounce around here. I can, you guys saw that I could extend out my time frame. If I extend out my time here, and then maybe I want to do a trend line. On this, and keep an eye of where I think that might intersect, so on. I do all this stuff, but now I want to go back and see what else was on that list. By the way, just a comment while I'm here, if you draw any trend lines on charts, they are sticky. They stay. You come back in later, you'll still see it. So if you want to predict where something's going to go, extend, choose that extend, draw your trend lines out, and then as the days go on, you'll actually see that, see how it filled in, or see if you were right on what you thought would happen. So just a little point to that for you. But from here now, what I was going to get to is from here, I want to go back. I hit the back button on my browser, just the back arrow on my browser, and what it's going to do, even though I bounced all over the place, it's going to take me right back to that watch list and where I was. And so now I'm going to go and look at, let's go look at Five Below and take a quick look at that one. And, I'm going to go through this, and I could bounce around on, I see my technicals. That's doing well. That's doing green all the way across on that. Getting into a recent new high at least. I see, all my stuff here. I'm going to go into my chart and my valuation. Let's go bring the chart up. We go to valuation. And I see here, by the way, based on the current price of stock and its current earnings. We see a nice forward. That, by the way, this is about a 3-year projected price point based on its earnings and growth rate here of 132. It's only at 35. I go through and do all this stuff, and when I'm done, I can get the back and I go right back where I was at. Or now I go, I've done this evaluation. Now I come over to options. Guess what? The trade that it sent over from Find is here. And again, look at what we're doing here. We're seeing something where it's got, here's this level of support. It calculated out that this is where this is at. As long as the stock stays above that level of support, which, by the way, is at 31.48. The stock's currently at 35.83. So, a $4, basically a almost $4.50 move up that it could go. So greater than 10% buffer in this one. And I'm going to make a 12% return in the next 46 days. If I'm going, ooh, 46 days, that's a long time. Let's shorten that up a little bit. You'll see the little arrows up here. These are the timeline. This is like a little calendar thing. Let me back it up. So I click on, oh, that's interesting. The shorter one, the prices didn't work out. It became a debit trade, so you don't want that. So we'll go back out. That's probably why it was 45 days on it. So here I have my position. Work on that spread a little bit. And from here, there we go. From here, I like the trade. All I have to do is hit the trade button. It'll bring that information right into my my trade ticket, review, place the trade. Right. So that's pretty much how you do it right there. Right now, so then the other part of this, now you'll notice down here is our broker menu. So I have my different brokerage accounts, my trade ticket, my order status, my current position, my gains or history. We have also added now, and while we're on this, let me just make mention of something down here. There's a couple cool things about this that's pretty helpful. One is that I can bounce around and do a quick view of my stocks right from here without even leaving it. Right. So, for example, if I'm going to go to my chart view for just a moment, and let's say I want to keep an eye on, that's actually a good point while we're here. Just a quick mention of something. You'll see here there's this line that goes across. That's because I have a stock position on right there from this, right? So if I go, in fact, let me share one more with you. Here's Campbell's Soup. And Campbell's Soup, we had on it's not in that one, it's in the verticals. So you'll see in Campbell's Soup, I had a 48.50 bull put spread on. In fact, if you guys anybody that was with me last week, last Monday night, we did this during that session last Monday night. We looked for that, and it was the whole structure of the trade was based on it just didn't have to fall below that point. Well, it certainly didn't. It continued to go on up. And right now, this is looking pretty good. How good? Let's take a quick look. I'm going to go over to the options page. In fact, I'm going to go to, in this particular case, I'm going to actually go to the call put chain. The only place this works is on the call put chain itself. If you're on the call put chain, though, what it'll do is it'll bring up the position over here for you. So last week we talked about, so it shows you the little arrows. I know these are the options I'm in. I could do adjustments here and look at other things on it, but I'm looking at this going, wait a minute. When I entered this trade, I entered it. My entry was for $210 of credit, and now I could close it out by spending $50, making $160 profit. So I've already pulled in 67% of the total credit that I have available to me in this trade, and you can see where I'm up right here on this curve. So I could look at this and go, well, I'm confident that it's going to keep on going, so I'm going to let it stay on. Or I'm looking at this going, hey, wait a minute, time to get out. Just hit the close button, and it'll immediately bring up the ticket for you to be able to close out the trade, saying, it's a smart ticket. It knows it's a close. It knows how many. And we'll go ahead and hit review. And actually cancel that. I'm going to do something here. Order ticket. I'm actually going to try to get a little bit better here between the bid ask. I'm going to try to close it out for a nickel. And we'll review that and place that trade. So So now what's happened in this short period of time, besides going through all this detail, is we've actually entered 2 new positions and entered a closing position on one of those as well. So, just the ability to go through that. Now we talk about the portfolio. The portfolio is the full page view of the exact same information that was available to you in the other part. So it just gives you the ability to see more of it in a full page view. We decided to add that because as people have more and more positions on it, it makes it a lot easier to do. However, what I will share with you is what I personally tend to do is I personally tend to do this from the research page, because if I look at my positions down here, so here's all my positions, I can just simply, well, I say research page, but when I say research, that could be dashboard charts, whatever I'm looking at here. Quite honestly, a lot of times I start with charts because I have my score up here already. At the high level, I see the score right next to the word, right next to the name. You remember I said, watch when something becomes overvalued? So this is one of those examples. I just put on a closing position here too. This is one of those examples where I happen just to recall that this was yellow last week, and now it's gone up to, the stock's gone up, and now it's in the red. By the way, if you want to see that, I don't have it on right now, so rather than doing it, but actually you can see the history on the score. It's one of the indicators here. We'll just do it real quick. Here's a score, and so now you'll see, oh, that's the insider score, wrong one, I'm sorry. The Invest4 score. So Invest4 score, you'll see down here, and where valuation, actually maybe I was wrong, maybe it was red last week, or earlier, yeah, last week. But you can see what the score was over any period of time as well. So but my point being here is that you could go to my positions here, and I could just start kicking down the list. And the cool thing about this on the chart, well, I was meant to be in the this one. So I just kick down the list here. So I'll click on Coke, or yeah, this Coca-Cola, and we'll hit the chart page because I want to show you this. So you'll see here, here is my my Coca-Cola position, and I see here that I have the stock at $42, but I also have a stop loss to sell it if it drops to 40. So it's an order to sell the stock. That the dotted line means an order to sell. The solid line, or I'm sorry, the dotted line means it's an order. The red means it's a sell. Green means to buy. The green solid line means it's a position I have on. If it was a solid red line, it means it's a position that I'm short. So if it's short the stock or short the option, it would be red. So you can see right away here that I have on, I'm in the stock, I'm in a profit, I have a stop loss down here, all ready to go. So as I'm looking at this, I just see all that information for me right away as I'm going down here. So I'm going to hit GoPro. GoPro is not quite as attractive. I'm in a little bit of a loss there in GoPro, but you can, again, just quickly work down that list, clicking on the different positions and saying, in fact, we already did the Kelly sequence. We'll click on Facebook here again. So it shows you the dashboard of it. And again, I can look at my stock. So you can see this information without really having to leave the page. And it's kind of a handy, make a little note for myself. Okay. So the in production, and my note was that in production, when you go change stocks, it stays on whatever the research page is. In my development system, when I click on a stock, it keeps going back to dashboard, and we wanted it to stick. So I just want to make sure that we address that before this release goes out. So that's what that was about. Anyway, so you can see here again, but I've got my list to work with. Now I can always go over to my portfolio and see the fuller page and all the detail. But for managing through and checking it out, it's kind of a great way to go. You also notice that if I do have an options position, it tells me how many days, always shows me how many days to expiration, right? So again, what you're doing is you're starting out with a broad view of the markets, get a sense. And I spend a bit of time on that because what happens is people come in and they look at this and they go try to find a stock to go buy. Well, that may not be the environment we're in. So what you want to do is take a moment, look at that macro view, Go with the flow. Don't try to, find that one stock that's swimming upstream against a cascade coming down. Find the things that are moving the way the market's moving, but maybe even better than. That means same thing, worse than on the downside, better than on the upside, and ride those opportunities in the market. So from there, then again, looking at your watch list, seeing that more detailed view of your stocks, and then working from that, and then find new opportunities in the market. And by the way, something I just want to share with you, because I meant to show you something here, and I got straight into the trades, and I just want to share one with you here, and it's actually one of my, to do this, I'm going to show you one of my favorites, and that is that it's all green. One of my favorites here, by the way, this is the score. So under featured, the score, all of these scans here are relevant to the score. So I can look at all green today. So there's 33 stocks that went all green today. There's over 100 stocks that are all green except for technical. And this is the one I want to show you, because there are times where you've seen this drop in the market, and now you're starting to see things come back. But if I wait till the technical score goes green, the challenge with that is that I've already seen a bit of a move. Part of my green score is a 15-day over a 50-day moving average. But I also have a 5-day is a stock above its 5-day moving average. It's a very short term. So what I like to do here is look at this as for turnaround opportunities. And I'm going to go to the grid view for just a second. And I'm going to go to we'll go to 1 month. We'll see how that is. And so you're seeing a lot of these. You see this, look at this, turning. Wow, that's some interesting stuff. And I might want to go to a 3-month view to see, well, is it turning against what? Has it come all the way back up or not? And you're seeing a lot of these are just kind of showing a nice bottoming process here, starting to come back up. So here, more of a little bit flat on FBHS, but a lot of these others are kind of in a nice trend. So I look at this and go, okay, let me go back to my list here for a moment. By the way, you can page through here. There's the little arrows, top right-hand side here, little arrows to be able to page through and take a look at these. And by the way, another cool thing, we'll stay with, I won't digress too much on our timeline here, but I can page through and check them out. Now, so what I can also do here, by the way, though, let me go back to my list view for a second, is I can work this list down to the ones I really want to look at. All right, so let me give you an idea here. For example, for me personally, I don't like low price stocks. Right, so I'm going to highlight my first one here and just click and drag down to, and I'm just going to keep dragging down to $20. So I'm going to get rid of everything under $20. So highlight everything under $20. You can, by the way, hit. See, I did that wrong. There you go. Go back up to the top. So I'm going to do it. This is the standard select capability, or your drop, drag kind of stuff, and that on here. Go down here to 20. There we go. All right. And then I'm going to go up to the top here and hit the delete key. See the little delete key? Get rid of those. Let me go finish down to 20 and delete. And then I'm going to go click on volume. And under volume, I want to get rid of everything that is less than about 500,000 shares, right? So that's going to be from here all the way up to there. It's not going to let me highlight multiple at a time here. So I'm just going to keep highlighting and deleting these out, right? So now I have my shorter list of stocks that I'm interested in. Reset. Well, that's new too. I have to make a note of that, because this is not something that used to happen in Find. It's resetting the values. That's what happens when I teach on dev. My developers always tell me, don't teach on dev, and yet I want to show some of the cool stuff, so I end up doing it. Scan, resetting. That's not happening on live. It's just some new features we're putting in. So, but bottom line is, you whittle it down to the ones you want, and then once you've got it down to the ones you want, we'll go down to these higher price stocks, highlight a group of them, And then I can, from this, now I've got a group highlighted. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a new watch list. So the little folder plus, it's going to create a new watch list. And this was green, no technicals, or not technicals, green, not technicals, just for something to identify it for me. And then I'll go ahead and OK that. And the watch list is now created. So now when I go to my watch list, I now have the green, not technicals automatically selected, and here's my list. And again, I can look at them in the tile view or the list view, and then start researching through those. And then what I do is I put them in here, and I start researching through this. And by the way, you can also highlight a group. Oh, let me show you this. I want to show you a couple of helpful hints as we wrap up. I could highlight a group of these, and then I could click on the research, that's a little flask, and it'll send that whole list over here to my research page. Now that I did that, let me show you a little problem with that. My little problem with that is I don't remember where I stopped down here because I just sent the last one, because it's going to show you the last 20. So what we have the ability to do here is there's a little delete key up here. I can clear this out, except for the very last one. It doesn't clear the last one. It has to have something there to work from. And now I'll go over here to my list, and now I'll highlight, and now I know where I'm at. Now I know where the that this is all my stocks except for that one last one. And now I can start going through these and doing my research and choosing what I want to do with them and so on, right? So just another way to kind of work through that on it. Now, in our last session, we did go through a lot of the other parts of, this piece of information, that piece of information, but I wanted tonight to share with you the trade flow portion of this and how that worked. And on a day-to-day, you come in, you sit down, you take a look at the markets, take a look at your stocks that you're already got eye on, and then going through to find new opportunities, researching those, and then managing those stocks through that. So a couple quick little tidbits, though, as we wrap up tonight. I want to get a couple other little helpful hints. One was that one right there that we can clear this sidebar list off. By the way, the sidebar is always quoted too, so you can just mouse over it. You'll see a quote for anything there. If you want to just refresh the quotes on that, there's a little refresh there. It'll do that. Obviously, after hours, it won't matter. Then on top of that, though, one of the things that does happen here, and we have designed this in a way to be kind of flexible with the screen size and all that you have, but for those that you want to see more on the page or blow it up so that you can see larger font on the page, there is a real easy way to do that. It's Command in the case of a Mac, Control in the case of a PC, and so I can go Command or Control plus sign, and it just blows up the screen for me. And minus sign brings it down. If I want to reset it, 0 will reset it to the default. But what happens is, depending on your screen real estate and what you have, you might want to see a little bit bigger picture of it, right? So that's something for you. There's a little hint as well. We'll bring that down a little bit. One of the other ones I want to share with you, and we just added this in the last release, so it's something that's a little bit new, so a lot of you may not be aware of that this was available to you. And actually, I'm going to show you two things here. Let me go to do a quick bull put. And what this will do is it'll bring up a bull put for me. About 70. We'll do, that's not a good stock for it because it's a debit trade. So let's just pick checkpoint. Okay, there we go. So here I have a bull put spread. And let's say that I have this bull put spread, but I want to do some more analysis on it. I might want to break the rules of a bull put, because over here you can't break a bull put. It has to be a bull put to work. But I want to take a little bit of a different look on this. You'll see over here a little arrow pointing out. So if I click on that, what it does is it takes this position and sends it over to my full option chain. And now I could add position. Now I no longer have to stay with the bull put. I can flex this any way I want, but it starts you out with that particular piece. So then I have this up, but here's the other part I wanted to show you. What happens a lot of times is you want to look at the chart in detail, not just that small chart you see on the strategy template, along with the position. Well, we now have kept this available to. So I'm going to go. I'm going to click the Go Big button here, and it's going to pop this off the screen in a larger view. And now I can go over to the chart and be able to see the chart at the same time. So I can use my cursor. You'll see the prices down below here based on your cursor, where your cursor's at. So I can move these around and say, okay, well, my expiration break even here is at like $77. Well, 77. Move this down just a little bit so I can see my price up here. So 77 would be right in about here. So am I comfortable with that? Right. So it's a nice way to be able to see that, and then when I'm done with that, I can just close it out. So another little helpful hint for working through that. One of the other things I wanted to share with you is that a lot of times we have students that or users that want to draw on the risk graph on the chart what they think the stock might be doing, and here you have that point where it's going to cross over, and what you might want to do here is make a note. So I can go here and say, add a note, and I'm saying, looking for breakout. Okay. And now that'll be on here, and it'll be on here when I come back. And if you want a different color, different font size, all those settings are right there available to you. So I want to change the font or color on it, I can do that. And that's in the settings right up here. But now I have this looking for breakout, and I think it's going to go up. So I've kind of noted that. So now I can come back later and see, am I right? And am I doing that? Or if I'm doing setups versus, like I'm looking to do setups, and then when they hit a certain mark, I've done the research on them and all that. I'm looking for a certain behavior, and then when that happens, I'm going to get in. Well, once you've done that research, rather than just saying, oh, it's not quite there yet, forget about it. Go ahead and put it in the watch list, and then make your notes on the chart, and you're ready to go. By the way, I'm looking at this chart or this stock, and I go, okay, well, let's say that's a good setup trade, but it's not quite there yet. I might have a watch list called setups. I normally do. I don't right now on this, but I have one called setups. And I'm looking at this stock. There's a little arrow here, little folder arrow. That's my list arrow. This, clicking at, will let me kick it into any one of my watch lists. So if I had one that's a setup watch list, I could click on, just add it to the setup watch list, and now it'll be there for me to be able to look at later. All right. In this case, we'll just kick it on. Let's see. We'll go big list. All right. So now that's been added to that list. So there's a lot in here that has been designed to keep it easy to use, help you guide through the process, and be able to find the opportunities for you. So what I'd really like to see is I'd like to see you guys doing some of these trades, at least in your virtual account. Get familiar with it. I wanted to show a few trades being placed, show how easy it's to get there. We did them on option trades. Stock trades are even easier. If I want to do a stock trade, all I have to do is click the buy or sell button in any number of places on the system. On the watch list, it's there. On if I go into the watch list, it's actually on the action icon. So on any of these, if I go to the action icon, it, by the way, since I added something to big list, it now defaults to that one being up. All right, so it came there automatically because I was adding stocks to it. But anyway, so if I click on this, I have the buy sell. If I'm in the tile view, I can hover any stock, and I have little buy sell icons, and simply click on that. It'll bring up the trade ticket, ready to go with that. So there were a few of you that did not have a virtual account set up yet. So let me just tell you how that's going to go. You open up this bottom. It says account for you. If you don't have one, you click on account down in the bottom left-hand corner. When you click on account, it will automatically come up looking something like this because you don't have an account set up yet. And get rid of that. You just select Choice Trade Virtual Account. You won't see Test Account. That's for my dev system. You'll see Choice Trade Virtual Account. You select that, and all you have to do is accept those terms and conditions and hit the continue, and it creates the account for you. All right, so that's how you're going to create one, and we've seen several ways of being able to place trades tonight. Right. So with that,